time for Common Man. Common man, charms the housewives like no one can. What'd you shoot?
Where'd we play?
Non-stop nonsense on deck today. Tune in, it's time for Common Man.
Why should anybody aspire to be a common man, an average man? Do you realize what it means to be average? That means you're the best of the lousiest, and the lousiest of the best. Now, if we demand more and more for producing less and less, while the have-not nations encourage and inspire and indeed require hard work and maximum effort, if we deify the common men while they encourage and reward the uncommon ones, well, the end result of such a lopsided race as that is too obvious to require elaboration.
I mean, it's like, hello.
I'm a fraud.
Yes.
Mark, they can't pitch. They can't hit. What is with? I mean, come on.
Well, I read the USA Today and I read the New York Times, and I read those both every day. And I listen to music. I wouldn't really. I mean, it wouldn't do me any good to listen to talk shows, because what's great about America? Everybody has an opinion. You know what I mean? But what's also great about America? You don't have to listen to them, and that's the great part.
Just keep battling, and just keep battling, and keep battling.
I didn't say that, Common. Don't put words in my mouth.
Tampa Bay.
Yo, what up, Tennessee?
Talk about guys stealing from 1 to 3. You ought to pay that station to be on there.
Is wearing women's underwear part of your training?
Yeah, baby. We're going to South Carolina and Oklahoma and Arizona and North Dakota and New Mexico. We're going to California and Texas and New York. And we're going to South Dakota and Oregon and Washington and Michigan. And then we're going to Washington, D.C. to take back the White House.
He's the clown from Brown.
That's all
He's
right.
the fourth in the North.
Yeah, no,
this
not
is
true.
the common man, Dan Cole.
Everybody needs a clown. Why not me? Why not you? Greetings, good afternoon, and ack to you and yours. I'm the common man, Dan Cole. East Tennessee. This is the worst all sports radio station in the country. So says a former employee who funny was fired from here. I'm a radio dinosaur. The fans, my La Brea tar pit. Someday, archaeologists and paleontologists will be sifting through the rubble that is 1600 Utica Avenue South, and they'll just stumble across my skeletal remains and my cold, dead, rigor mortis laden lips attached to this. Wait for it. To this Electro Voice RE27.
Electro Voice.
Electro Voice RE277777. And they will say, EGAD, it's a social commentator with an archaic communication device. We're here till 3. Then we turn it over to Big Ticket and JG. And, Tennessee was last week in which I was highly critical of the program director here at the radio station, Chad Abbott, where on the day the franchise was burning to the ground, no, that was 25 years ago. That was a whole other story. I can give you that one someday if you'd like. If I ever explained that one on the day the franchise is burning to the ground, where do you think the general manager would be? Call him at the office. So then Roofsy called him at the office, and Sandy said, "Oh, you're looking for Kevin? He's at home."
I always
So on the
loved that
day
one.
the Joe Smith deal was announced, it was all hands on deck, right? I mean, It was like the franchise is burning to the ground, and we need to get McHale on the air immediately. So where do you think he is? He's probably right now on a red alert at the office, right, down at 600 First Avenue South. Call him there. Where else would he be, a knucklehead? And then he calls the office, and Sandy, the secretary, goes, "Oh, you're looking for Kevin? He's at home." He's probably getting ready to go play around at North Oaks, which is what you would be doing, too, if you lived in North Oaks.
Yes.
Right? You know what we did one time, this was many years ago, when we were into the boot hockey routine? You know, sometimes it's hard to find a rink to play boot hockey because on the weekends there's so many hockey teams, kids, squirts, peewees, whatever, bantams. They're playing everywhere, or there's just people skating on them, right? That's hard to find a place to put a boot hockey game together. So we said, why don't we just go over to North Oaks? Well, it's private. Well, that's all right. We'll just tell them we're waiting for McHale. So we never ended up having to say anything, but that was what I was going to say, that if all of a sudden security came and said, "Hey, do you guys live here?" "No, but we're waiting for Kevin McHale. He's going to play boot with us." Well, what would they say? They were, "Okay, sounds good."
He'd make a good defensive defenseman in boot hockey with that reach. You wouldn't be able to get around him.
No, he's gangly.
Yeah.
He was definitely very gangly. But anyway, you know, the greatest comeback in the history of the WNBA playoffs, the Lynx, you know, underdogs to the Liberty, the number 1 seed in New York. We come back and win. PA's out again.
What team are they playing?
Go ahead.
Liberty, 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 Liberty.
And my favorite of those commercials, there's the one where they have the good-looking actor where he keeps bumbling the lines.
Yeah.
That's really good. And then I like when he sends the main guy, whoever that is, he sends his kid out to be a Liberty guide. He's in that little tiny electric, that battery-powered car. And he drives over the flower bed and the tears are coming from his eyes. It's very emotional. It's an emotional moment for all of us when you send your kids off into the real world, as I know now, and Tennessee will know in the not-too-distant future. But and we admonish PA a little bit because I know it was bye week, but I mean, you should be on call for something like this. It's the WNBA finals, for crying out loud. So with PA out, they needed to have a guest host. And instead of selecting somebody like Marnie Gellner along with Bea Lee Olsen and all the others that are a part of the broadcast for the Minnesota Lynx, they go with Fallness and Russo to talk hockey. And again, we love the Wild here. Tend to be you love them, I love them, we all love them. But it was after the first game of the regular season. We're talking about the greatest comeback in the history of the WNBA. I admonished Abbott on air. We keep no secrets. He got back to me and said, "Well, you know what? You know, it's a hard job dealing with all these teams and all these egotistical talk show hosts. And you know, you've offered up your programming expertise to me in the past because you've programmed 3 of 5,000 more radio stations. I'll start using you next week." Well, I've made several recommendations. What was the first one? Because he's done.
You suggested removing the interim label?
No, I didn't. I didn't suggest that. What I did suggest was
Links on the Fan.
Oh yeah, that's right. All of a sudden, he decides links are on the Fan now. So they went from thinking a Wild preseason game, and again, there's a pecking order here. I get that, but a Wild preseason game or WNBA finals. So now we're having all of the Lynx games, something I recommended. Next of all, the next thing I recommended that they did was I said, well, why would there be no PJ Fleck show on Tuesday? That didn't make any sense. We're coming off a brilliant victory over UCLA. Why would we not do one? You know, we're just going to have Common on for another hour. What did they do? Brilliant today, having a different perspective with the coach probably vacationing somewhere. A different perspective. Max Brosmer was there. Were there other players?
Like Darius Taylor?
Yeah. It was there was a lot of fun, a lot of frivolity, getting to know the players a little bit more than we did. And now, Tennessee, I've asked Chad Abbott another programming idea. We go back to just 2 hours a day. Same pay. Brilliant. But 2 hours a day.
I like that idea.
Do you like noon to 2 or 1 to 3?
I'd go noon to 2.
I like noon to 2 as well because then we can beat traffic on the way home. And then
we used to go noon to 2.
That's correct. And then during daylight savings time, I still can get to a golf course and get 18 holes in. See, because if you end at 3 daylight savings time, 4:45 gets a little tough to get 18 in. But if I'm done at 2, I'm over at Brookview at 2:15. You and I could play golf every day. Now, I'm not sure if he'll take that recommendation under consideration, but I certainly hope that he will.
Well, it's kind of like in NBA, they have load management.
Yes.
Right? Like the guys don't play every game because when they get tuckered, you're not going to get the most out of them. they would get prime common man material if you only had to go 2 hours a day. You wouldn't get tired. You wouldn't be fatigued. You wouldn't be stretching out your material.
Some people would say I already have load management and it's self-imposed, but that's a whole other thing in itself. Speaking of changes and doing things differently, boy, it's a good thing that the Jets fired their coach. That worked out well for them, didn't it?
They
fire their coach. Of course, A-Raj had nothing to do with it, and he's just astounded and astonished, dumbfounded that people would think he has that kind of pull. They lose anyways, and it would have been worse.
That being said, if their field goal kicker could kick a field goal,
right,
they might have been.
Well, and it would have been worse had they not got a lucky Hail Mary. I mean, those are just pure luck. And it counts. I'm not saying it doesn't. But now they've made another change. Is it official? Has Devontae Adams been traded from the Raiders to the New York Football Jets?
For a conditional third-round pick that can move up to be in a second, but it won't move up to be in a second.
But Aaron didn't have anything to do with that.
No.
They didn't consult him for that. They just make those moves. They didn't even tell him. He found out when he got on the Pat McAfee show. Pat McAfee had to tell him, by the way, do you know your team made a trade today? No, what was that? We traded for your favorite receiver from the olden days, Devontae. No, I had no idea that was coming. They didn't even consult with me in any way, shape, or form. All they need now, Tennessee, is to sign John Kuhn, Donald Driver, Greg Jennings, and Jordy Nelson, and they'll get the band. Let's get the old band back together. I don't know how much it's going to help. It can't hurt that club, though, right? They've signed John Kuhn.
We got another wide receiver trade.
Oh.
The Cleveland Browns are trading wide receiver Amari Cooper to the Buffalo Bills.
Ooh.
So 2 big wide receiver trades today.
Well, I think Buffalo needed it. I think they thought
they do.
After they got rid of Steph Diggs, it seemed like they thought they might be able to get by without a star receiver. It's kind of hard to, isn't it? I mean, you can do it. Brady used to do it, right? I mean, he had very good receivers, but none of them were, other than Moss that 1 or 2 years, they didn't have anybody with real.
Yeah, Gronk.
Yeah, tight end.
Yeah.
Tight end. But no real star wide receiver. Good players. Who were the guys that were good?
Julian Edelman.
Right, Edelman. And they had one other guy, another smaller guy that was kind of that slot guy.
What's his name? He played for the Rams.
Yeah, you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Whatever the case may be. But they never had, whoa, look at what they got now. So I think the Bills have decided it might be better to get that. So Cooper probably is a nice fit there. We're going to try to put a gram in somebody's hand, tap dance for a couple more segments. And then...
is he back?
Mark Rosen is back. He will join us at 2 o'clock. Talk a little baseball and some more Vikings football other side of the break. But right now, that keyword, Tenna.
Yeah, the fan and 2 men in a junk truck want to give you a shot to put a grand in your hand with our national cash contest. Just enter the keyword credit at KFAN.com now for your shot at winning. The keyword is credit. Enter now at KFAN.com. Hey, let your voice be heard. Tune in to Vikings Fan Line following every Vikings game presented by Verizon. Listen in right here on KFAN and anywhere on the free iHeartRadio app.
Couple 13-14 past Common Man program. It's Lions Week. Vikings take on the Motor City Kitties. Somebody's always got it. No, the Lions did lose. I can't even remember. Who did they lose to? Why don't I recall?
The Lions?
Yeah, I don't remember. It was... I think we were playing a terrible team in a terrible city. Oh, no. They beat the Cardinals.
They beat the Rams.
Yeah. Can you IHOP their schedule? Because somebody asked me
they beat Seattle.
In the answer.
Oh, they lost to Tampa Bay.
That's right, Tampa Bay. Which is nothing to be embarrassed about. They seem to be a pretty good club. You know what I like best about Tampa Bay, Tennessee? No stress. This is a team that is not playing with any stress in the locker room where they did under Brady. Now, they did win a big game under Brady, but the players were always stressed out, and Baker says they just want me to be me.
Now they're young, wild, and free.
Yeah, I got to be me, and he's got to be me, and they are playing some pretty good football. Vikings-Lions, 5-0 Vikings, 4-1 Kitties, and then the Packers and Bears are both at 4-2. It's a log jam at the top of the NFC Central, and...
would all 4 be in at the season end of the day? Because I feel like...
I think they would.
I mean, it depends on what the tiebreakers would be with, like, Atlanta, because Atlanta's 4-2.
Atlanta club's pretty good. I told you, Tennessee, at the beginning of the season. I said it's going to be Atlanta and Minnesota in the NFC Championship game, and you're on your own after that. That would be... I
always love that.
That would be a wonderful storyline, right? Kirk against the Vikings, the team that said, you know what? I think we've had all we can stand, and we can't stand no more. We're moving in another direction. The guy that was Loved by some in town, vilified by others here in Minneapolis, St. Paul, and probably more vilified than loved. And having a real good start to the season over there.
We'll see Kirk in December.
Yeah, we will. See you in December. Great song. And then, another one I like is Oh, What a Night, Late September, back in 63. Just a couple of great songs that have months out of the year in it. The Adams, again, they're not in our division, but I think the Adams thing certainly helps that club, right? Because he's still considered one of the best wide receivers in football. Is that correct?
Yes.
So maybe that will help that team. Because that division's not, the Bills are in first place with like a 3-3 record or 4-2. I don't know what their record is now, but it's like that division's certainly not nearly. It's because Miami's terrible, right?
Well, because of the two injury.
Yeah, so they're in the
New England's terrible.
And New England's terrible. So it won't take much to win that division there. But the Vikings,
Buffalo's 4-2, and Dolphins are next at 2-3.
But the NFC North is a much different story. So New York went ahead and made a trade in an effort to bolster their chances. And they traded with the Radiators. Radiators, we talked yesterday, tend to be, with the Lions losing Aiden Hutchinson, one of the better edge rushers in pro football. I even saw I saw a story where, I'm not big on the betting on sports, but the Lions, the odds change constantly, right, when it comes to sports betting. They change by the minute, I think. And the Lions' chances of, winning the division, making the playoffs, winning the big game, all changed fairly significantly with the injury of one player, and I don't know how much it means. But if the Radiators were willing to part ways with Devontae Adams, would they be willing to part ways with Max Crosby? The thing with Crosby is it's an immediate upgrade with whatever they have now. Isn't he also considered, I've watched him play, he's considered one of the best edge rushers in pro football. I think he costs a pretty penny. He's got a big contract, but you'd have him for a couple of years. Imagine if you have him for a couple of years and Hutchinson comes back 100%. That'd be awful dangerous.
Yeah,
defense.
I'd take that.
Yeah, I'd take that as well. So I guess the reason I bring it up because I think what I was reading yesterday was most NFL experts or / observers felt that the Radiators trading Max Crosby and the Lions being a suitor for them would be highly unlikely. But now, after trading Devontae, I don't want to say it's a fire sale, but if you're trading Devontae Adams, you've kind of given up on the season, haven't you? That's not a move you make if you feel like, no, we still got a chance here because he's one of the better wideouts in the league. So maybe Detroit will do something. There was a story today I found on, do you know what The Athletic is?
The what?
I have a prescription to it. It's a online newspaper, basically, magazine, whatever you call it, that deals in sports. And they started speculating about, it's crazy. The Athletic is, because they're more in depth, they're not doing just, daily scores and scoops and gamers, right? They're digging deep. They basically broke down every defensive edge rusher that the Lions could possibly pick up off the streets, could trade for, who might be willing to, who might willing to be a trade and who wouldn't, and what kind of a fit it would be. But you sometimes kind of wonder if teams get into it, because the Lions are already into it pretty deep money-wise, right? Goff's got a big deal. So does Amon-Ra St. Brown.
They're linemen.
Montgomery just signed. He just upped his deal over the weekend, I think, just before kickoff, or maybe earlier in the week. The Lions, extended Montgomery. So then you start talking about the money thing and the salary cap, and I don't know where the Lions are. Maybe I should, but I don't. So I find it probably pretty unlikely that they would. Though you and I talked about, if you feel like you've got that open window, which those windows I think are realistic. It's hard for a team. I don't know how New England did it. Well, I guess part of it was they were in such a terrible division most of the time, but year after year after year, they were in the playoffs and they were winning big games, and you wonder, how do they do those things? And other teams, I think you got that, you put it together, you've got like a couple, 3-4 years maybe, and if it doesn't work, you're going back to the drawing board. So, especially with as bad as this franchise has been over the past 60, 65 years, you feel like it's now or never to do another song. And that would be, I think, Elvis Presley. It's now or never. So whether they make a move or not remains to be seen. I don't think they'll do anything by Sunday, which I think does bode well for the Vikings. I saw a text message come into the Paul Allen Project that said, well, Hutchinson barely, he's good, but he's not the best in the league. He might not be the best in the league, but he is very good. He does change.
He's leading the NFL in sacks, and he's leading the NFL in quarterback pressure.
Yes,
so
correct. Yeah,
that sounds pretty good to me.
Yeah, he's really good, and so that does make it. It makes it easier.
And he's young.
And he's young. It makes it easier to game plan for Detroit. I think when you don't have Aiden Hutchinson coming in, so should be interesting. By the way, Tennessee, there were a couple of other. It's Wes Welker.
Yes.
Dion Branch and Danny Amendola.
Amendola was the one I was thinking of.
Danny Amendola.
But Wes Welker was the more successful one.
Yeah, so they did, he had some good wide receivers. I would equate
I think some of those wide receivers were only good because they were in New England, though.
Exactly.
Like Amendola did not have a great career before he got to New England.
And I believe in a lot of those cases, it was very similar to with Rodgers. Remember? When Jordy Nelson was catching passes from Aaron Rodgers, he was really good. When he wasn't, he wasn't. And when Greg Jennings left and came here, there was nothing there. So yeah, much of it has to do with who the quarterback is. Controversial Vikings news, talk a little baseball playoffs. And then Mark Rosen coming up just before 2 o'clock. All that and more. Common Man program on the Fan.
Hey, want to chime in on what's happening in their favorite KFAN program? Make your voice heard on the Bradshaw and Bryan text line. Let us know what you have to say by texting your message to 64686. That's 64686. Standard message and data rates apply.
Couple 13-14 past Common Man program getting to be that time of year. Halloween costume ideas for those of you planning to go to a party or dressing up the kids, whatever the case may be. Here's one, Tennessee. Walk around holding a jar of pickle juice while pinching your nose and saying yucky over and over again, and go as bridge producer, Tennessee. That's not bad.
It's all right.
Locally based. Here's one. Dunk yourself in water, wear arm floaties, add seaweed to spruce it up, and go as a Tenna Fitzgerald survivor. Here's a complimentary Tennessee one.
What?
Dress up like a brick wall with a cartoon-like body silhouette and go as a Tennessee montage. Right? Because many listeners are ready to run through brick walls. Me and 4 other guys are going to wear the jerseys of Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs, Aaron Jones, and Joe Mixon, and go as the recipe for a big game. Oh, you find that funny, Tennessee? Well, someday you'll see that my theory isn't that far off. 2 others wear a WCCO jacket with a laminated press pass with no expiration date and go as the last thing a swordfish will ever see.
I always love that one.
And then this one. This is one of my favorites. A couple's costume. Both wear white Egyptian cotton bathrobes and go as Minnesota's version of Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. And I think that's really accurate because we don't have many celebrities here, but I would think the legendary Mark Rosen and his wife would be 1-2 on that.
When you said Egypt, I thought it was going in a different direction.
Yeah,
that threw me off a little bit.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be something about pyramids and such like that.
I always love that one.
Oh, by the way, someone. Here's one that just came into the Bradshaw and Bryan KFAN text line. Go shirtless, draw an arrow up your stomach, and tell everyone your comment's first shot in the first hole. That would be very good. I like that.
Brilliant.
Someone sent this text message that says, Devontae wanted out of Vegas. Crosby has not said anything to make people believe he wants out too. Probably harder to make that happen unless Detroit's willing to give up a lot. That is true. He has said he likes living in Las Vegas. He's also from Detroit, and has said he's always wanted to play for the Detroit Lions. So, or he's from Michigan. He's not from Detroit. Max Crosby is from Michigan and has stated on a number of occasions that he would like to play for the Kitties someday.
I wonder if that Devontae Adams injury just magically healed all of a sudden.
You think so?
Missed the last couple games.
Yeah,
with a lower body injury of some sort, and it just feels a little better now.
I wouldn't be surprised at all if that's the case. Here's one that says, any tips for quitting smoking cigarettes? Day 1, hour 2 of my first serious attempt in about 15 years since the last time I tried. The only thing I can say is just don't buy cigarettes. Don't bum them from your friends. And you got to go. For me, it was the hardest thing I've ever done. Other than lifting the interim label for Tennessee and calling him bridge producer. That was very difficult to do too, but if you have an addiction to nicotine, man, it's hard. I remember when I quit on several occasions. You know, the old 2 weeks, 6 months. I quit once for 2 years and started. I've recanted these tales on the air before. Disgusted with myself, I threw the pack of cigarettes out the window into the ditch, woke up the next morning and had a craving. Instead of going to the store and buying a brand new pack, I just went back to the ditch and crawled down in it. And they were there. They were. And then you try to smoke cigarettes. There is a difference. I know, Tennessee, you've never smoked. There is a difference in cigarettes, the way they taste. I know it sounds strange, but as a matter of fact, I think I probably could do it to this day, too. You could blindfold me and have me light up a cigarette, and I could tell you what a Winston tastes like, what an Old Gold tastes like. I can tell Cool Menthol from Salem Menthols. I can tell a Marlboro Red flip-top box from a Marlboro Light. I mean, you can tell the difference around. The only cigarette I really enjoyed was Marlboro Red in the flip-top box. But it was hard to quit. And what I found was I would get a craving about every 20 to 30 minutes, because that's about how often I had a cigarette. I bet I was close to a 2-pack a day guy, certainly a pack and a half. So you'd have a cigarette. And
that sounds expensive, by the way.
Oh, it was really expensive. Even now, well, of course, everything's inflation. It's probably all... well,
now they get taxed so much.
Yeah, it probably all works out the same, though, as far as, they always have those, the cost of something today back 30 years ago would have been, but yeah, it was really expensive. I think even now a pack of cigarettes is over $10 a pack. It's insane. But what I found was I would get a craving like every 20 to 30 minutes, bad. It would last for about 3, 4, 5 minutes, about how long it takes to smoke a cigarette, and then it would go away. And then it would come back, and then it would go away, and that would go on and on and on. And then you gain, you balloon up, you gain about 20 pounds because you look for some oral fixation. So you just eat food, right? Well, I got to do something here. So then you start pigging out. So every time I tried to quit, I gained like 20 pounds. Then if you want to lose weight, you start smoking again. So, you pick your poison. And then I told you about the last time that I got after a 2-year break, I bummed a cigarette from somebody, took a couple of drags and said, this is awful. Now I know I quit, but the nicotine was back in my system and I couldn't fight it. I tried to hide it from Potato for the longest time, and then finally I just said, I'm back smoking. I don't know what to tell you, but I'm back. Oh, it got so bad. There were times I would get up in the middle of the night and have a heater and go back to bed. How sick is that? That's just sick. To get up in the middle of the night and then go out to the patio and open the door, hot box one, and then put it out, then crawl back into bed. It's actually disgusting. So I wish you the best. That's the only tip I have. Wild Bill Bauer used to do a routine where he said, just cut off all your fingers. But then you'd go to the store and ask the guy, do you have anything in an open-toed sandal? It's just, I don't know where he came up with those things, but he came up with them anyways.
Genius.
Do you have anything in an open-toed sandal? So, yeah, I don't. Have you ever had any bad habit other than working for this show that you've kicked that you couldn't? It doesn't seem like you do.
It's not on the level that you're talking about, but for me, I always chewed my fingernails.
I still do.
And I used to do it basically until I met my now wife, and she basically said that's disgusting.
Yeah,
which it does make sense. You're putting your fingers in your mouth, and you get dirt and crap on it.
Mine are short though. I can tell you that.
And it's not good for your teeth either.
No, it's not.
So yeah, I basically did what you have talked about with cigarettes. Is I just told myself I wasn't going to put the fingers in my mouth, and it was hard. It was hard right away.
Yeah.
And then after a while, you kind of forget about it. And now I never have an issue with it.
I still bite my nails to this day. And I there was a time I tried not to, and I actually was okay at it. The thing was, my fingernails just looked awful. And when I would try to cut them and trim them to make them look good, they never did. So I just went back to tearing them with my teeth, just tear them right off. You ever tear them so farther your fingers start to bleed?
Yeah,
you cut just a little too far down, and you got bloody fingers. It's a mess. It really, truly is. But so best of luck to TP2K guy, and hopefully he can lick the habit. Tennessee, you know what I like more than this is List Radio. Why do we like it? List Radio, according to Ben Mahler of Fox Radio, is lazy radio. There's nobody lazier than the common man. Though I find it amazing I can fill 45 segments every single week. But power rankings tend to be, and I've only found 2 of them so far. I can't, we were going to try 5. We had that debate, right? And you won. I gave you your $3. I never thought the Vikings would be ranked the best team in pro football, just because I thought until the Chiefs lose a game, the 2-time defending champs, if you have 5-0 and 5-0, you take schedules into account, and that's what they did, and I didn't. I just thought, well, it's the old, until you uncrown the champ, he's kind of the champ. But we were going to do 5 of them. We were going to do NFL.com, The Athletic, the USA Today, and CBS Sports.com. And I think I just have, what do I have? CBS Sports.com, The Athletic, and then I have USA Today. So we'll go with those 3. Tend to be when you go to CBS.com, whoops, I got the wrong story. I had an NBA story, I say, for some. Why would I want to talk about the NBA? Here it is. CBSSports.com has the Chiefs ranked as the top team in pro football, Tennessee, followed by your Minnesota Vikings. Texans at 4, and it's interesting to note their only loss was to the Vikings, and they got destroyed by the Purple. At number 4, it's the Lions, followed by the Ravens at number 5, Packers at number 6, then Bills, Falcons, Bears, Buccaneers. The 49ers at 3-3, Tennessee, and probably rightly so. They're down at number 11. But according to CBS, they always do, what the ranking was last week. They were down to 14 last week, a middle-of-the-pack football team. But they're up now. Commanders, with that loss, they dropped 6 spots, down to number 12. Should they have dropped that far? One loss? And who did they lose to?
They lost to Baltimore.
Yeah, they lost to Baltimore. And it was a fairly close. I know that they kicked a field goal to cut it to 7 and then tried to get the ball back, so it's a little deceiving. Could you make an argument? Am I overrating the Ravens? I think they're better than the 5th team in football. I don't know if I think
by the end of the season, the Ravens are going to be maybe the class of the AFC.
I think you're right.
They lost to Vegas at home, which was a really bad loss, and they got off to the 0-2 start. But that running game combo of Derrick Henry with Lamar Jackson looks very scary. Lamar proved last year he can throw the ball a little bit, and their defense is good.
Yep.
They're always pretty well coached. Maybe they'll disappoint in the playoffs once again because they've been doing that under the Lamar era, but I think they'll be one of the 2 best teams in the AFC by the end of the year. Speaking of eras, in the power rankings era, and I don't know how long there have been NFL power rankings. But there are 4 NFC North teams in the top 10, and probably rightly so. The Vikings at 2, the Lions at 4, the Packers at 6, and the Bears at 9. Oh, NFC North. Yeah, NFC North. What did I say? You said NFC. Oh, NFC North. Think about that. Vikings at 2, Lions at 4, Packers at 6, and the Bears at 9. I wish they were at 8 so we could say 2, 4, 6, 8. Who do we appreciate? NFC North. But all 4 teams. Have any of them played each other? Obviously, the Vikings haven't. Between the Bears, Lions, and Packers? No. None of them played each other? The Lions have not played an NFC North team yet. I don't think the Bears have. And the Packers and Vikings are that's it. So, we still got a lot of division collisions coming up. Do you think the Bears... we played Green Bay. What am I thinking of? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There was a 1 game against Green Bay. Let me ask you this. Do you think the Bears... They're starting to get a lot of pub. I think it's a lot of just has to do because everybody, Caleb Williams. And he has apparently been getting a little bit better every week. Do you think they're overrated at number 9, though, according to CBS Sports? Or do you think that's about right? And I know we do standings and it's not that serious, but I'm just wondering what you think about where they stand. Their competition has not been great, but I guess why I would give them the respect is Caleb Williams, after a couple rough starts to begin his career, and after not really having some offensive line play, he looks like he's starting to figure it out. And not saying he's going to be Pat Mahomes, because that's lofty, but you do watch some of I watched some of the game they played against Jacksonville. He does have some Mahomes moments to him where he's, in a league, if you can extend the play like that and still be able to make the pass and give your wide receiver 6, 7, 8 seconds to get open, they can only cover him for so long. He's got a lot of that to him where he can get out of the pocket, run around, extend the play. And
he's got a strong
throw it off his back foot, throw it at at a sidearm angle. He's got all that to his game, which is why he got the Mahomes comparisons coming out of college.
And I have to admit, and maybe diehard fans of any four of the NFC North teams would rather not see this. I like when everybody seems to be pretty good. I think it makes the division much more interesting. So many years it's just been Minnesota and the Packers, Vikings, Packers. Detroit's been awful. The Bears, they've had their moments. Weren't they in the year the Packers won the big game under Rodgers? Wasn't the NFC Championship game Bears Packers? And I think is that the last time? Is that the last time the Bears have even been in the playoffs? I think it is. They may have been in one of. When did they go to the big game against the Colts? That was prior to that, wasn't it? Or was that after?
It was Rex Grossman days against Peyton Manning.
Yeah. So
Devin Hester returning kickoff.
Yes, exactly. So I kind of like that all four teams are really good. It makes those NFC North games so much more interesting. Before it was like Vikings, Bears. Well, Vikings are going to win. I guess the Vikings would lose at Chicago a lot.
So they were a wild card in 2020.
Okay.
Wild card in 2018, but then, yes, the last time they were in it was 2010 when they lost to the Packers in the NFC Championship game.
Athletic has the Vikings at number one.
But they haven't won a playoff game since that year, 2010.
Vikings are number one with the Athletic power rankings, same spot they were in last week. The Athletic always likes to do that one big question. What do you think the one big question the Athletic has regarding the soon-to-be big game world champion Minnesota Vikings tend to be?
Sam Darnold.
Yes, you're correct. Can Sam Darnold keep it up? Everyone's waiting for the Vikings quarterback to turn into a pumpkin. He has started fast before, they say, and they're right. Darnold had 1,346 passing yards in weeks 1 through 6 of the 2018 season with the Jets. The difference, Darnold had 9 passing tutties and 7 picks to start that season. This year, 11-4. In 3 of the last 4 seasons that KOC has been head coach or offensive coordinator for a team, that team's been in the top 10 in the league in scoring. The Vikings are 6th at the moment at 27.80 points per game. They have the Ravens at number 2. They think more highly of the Ravens like I do. The Kitties at number 3 tend to be.
They look good against Dallas. They look like the old Kitties from last year.
Their big question, was Sunday a good day or a bad day? The Lions were the most impressive team in the league against the Cowboys, but they lost Aiden Hutchinson. Humiliating Dallas while Jared Goff posted a 153.8 passer rating. Sunday felt good, but a season with the highest expectations just got tougher. And I think that goes without saying. They have the Chiefs at 4, followed by Houston at 5, Washington at 6, Green Bay at 7, Buffalo 8, Atlanta at 9, San Francisco at 10. They must not think as highly of the Bears. They do not. Bears down to 13 before you reach them. And then the final one, Tenneby, that I selected was USA Today today. And let's see what their power rankings are. So we've had the Vikings, and one of them won. The other one was 2. And here they have the Chiefs at number 1, Ravens at number 2, Vikings at 3. And again, they say about the Vikings, leaders of an NFC North off to an historically hot start. The Vikings currently have the only interdivisional win. They'll get another chance to certify their undefeated legitimacy with the Lions coming to the Twin Cities on Sunday. Lions at 4, Falcons at 5, Tampa Bay at 6, Green Bay 7, Houston 8, Washington 9, Buffalo 10. Again, they don't think much of the Bears either. They got the Bears down at 14, which might be more realistic. Who knows? It's all just fun. It's just lists. We call it list radio, a way to kill time is what it does. LaBelle Neal just texted me. Tenneby.
I'm on it.
Was saying something to the effect of the Bears. He must be talking about the Bears. Super easy schedule, but defense is legit. The defense is legit. I've not watched any a significant chunk of Bears football this year. I've watched those, when they go, let's go to, Kurt Menefee and the move for this update. And then they show an update and they show a Bear highlight. That's all I've seen. I've only seen a Bear highlight. I've not seen an entire game.
But their defense has been better because that was some issues last year. I'd still like to see their offensive line hold up as the season progresses, and how Caleb will handle some better defense, including B-Flow. We'll see how he looks when he's got B-Flow scheming against him.
Only one person can determine if Sammy D fizzles, and that's Sammy D himself. He's been gifted this opportunity. We'll see if he does his job by winning a big game. That's the expectation at this point. Is it really at this point? Is a big game the expectation? I mean, I guess it has to be at 5-0, but I'm still
quite the bar to reach.
Yeah, I've had this debate with people. There are people that think the Vikings are a team without a weakness. Everything's in place. And, it's looked really good for the first 5 weeks. I don't think there's any question, though I do look at, and, I know, Tenneby, it's better to win ugly than lose pretty. And, but there are some concerns with the way the defense played in the second half of the last two games, the way the offense didn't really do much either. Now, again, if you do enough in the first half, the Vikings have trailed in a game for, what is that time frame?
Just like the 3 minutes against the Giants?
It's like
2-3 minutes?
Yeah, it's about 3 minutes, 24 seconds is all they've... That could be the call I've been waiting my entire life.
651?
Actually, no, it's a 715 number. It's a number that could change my life. It really could. I'd like to answer it, but I can't.
We spent a lot of time doing is Sam Darnold for real? Can he sustain this? Mm-hmm. But ultimately, if you think the Vikings defense is legit, and if they play this way the rest of the year, they're going to be competitive and good regardless of what level Sam Darnold's going to give you.
Do you think this is the Vikings' biggest test defensively of the year to this point? Is it more than Houston, more than San Francisco? Do you think Detroit?
I mean, coming off the game, Detroit, they're rolling on all cylinders here, right? But I would have put them on par with Houston and San Francisco's offense before the year. And the other two didn't fare very well versus us.
I think Beeflow's been losing sleep. I think he's tossing and turning. They got a lot of weapons there.
They got a lot of weapons.
They got a lot of weapons. Let's do this. Let's see what Mark Rosen thinks when he joins us after a week away in London, a week and a half, however long it's been. He joins us next, Common Man program here on The Fan.